morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, August 12th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Bucknuts contributor Jonah Booker. And J-Book, camp is underway. We're almost a week through camp, and, you're not with me here in Columbus, unfortunately for you, but I know you're following along with everything that is going on with Ohio State's football camp. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. What does interest you the most on the offensive side of the ball through the first week of camp?
I would say the offensive line. It sounds like Michael Jordan's going to go ahead and win that starting guard spot. And then just filling out the two deep and just making sure that offensive line gels. That's going to be huge for the Buckeyes, returning only two starters from last year. But to me, just seeing if Michael Jordan's going to hold off Demetrius Knox and Evan Lyles for that starting guard position. And it's interesting because a lot of people had Matthew Burrell penciled in potentially to be on that second team unit, but it looked like he's fighting for his life as far as if he's going to be on that second or third team, and all indications are that him and a couple of the other guys who's been in the program for several years are going to be sliding to that third team unit.
What about anything else on the offensive side of the ball? There's so many guys at wide receiver, it's unbelievable. Looks like the starters are locked in when you look at the X and the Z with Corey Smith and Noah Brown. But man, there's a ton of guys going for the two deep spots, like Austin Mack, Torrance Gibson, Ben Victor, KJ Hill, Paris Campbell, Terry McLaurin, Johnny Dixon, on and on. I'm going to leave guys out. There's no doubt about it. Just anything else offensively, wide receivers or anything else that's kind of caught your eye through camp so far?
Yeah, wide receivers, you mentioned that. What's going to be very interesting is what's that rotation going to be like? You got playmakers galore all over the field, guys that you named off, and then you're also going to have Curtis Samuel and Dontre Wilson mixing in there at the H-back, so those guys are going to take some time to line up in the slot. So I'm very curious how they're going to set that rotation there, because from all indications, Noah Brown, he's back to having a dominant camp, and then Corey Smith, he's back healthy. The younger guys, they're just dripping with talent. How are you going to spread that football around? And also the running back position. We're very thin at the running back. Mike's going to be there. We need him to stay healthy because they're adamant that they want to have Curtis Samuel and Dontre Wilson rotating at that H-back position. So that'll leave two true freshmen in Antonio Williams and Demario McCall behind Weber at the running back position. So how do they keep Weber fresh and healthy, but at the meantime, getting him ready to play at a high level?
If Samuel and Wilson rotate at the H, does that mean that Samuel could steal some carries at tailback from Weber and the other guys?
He'll definitely get some carries. I can see Curtis Samuel getting 6 or 7 touches from the running back position and then lining him up in a slot. The thing about Curtis Samuel and the coaches, they want to take advantage of his explosion and his athleticism because he's so versatile. Yes, he can go ahead and tote the ball back there at running back, but you line him up at the slot. If you're putting the linebacker lined up on Curtis Samuel in the slot, I'm taking that matchup all day, every day, because he's going to win that 9 times out of 10. If you put a safety down in the box to guard Curtis Samuel, now you got outside guys that can pop the top off the defense, to where now you got a defense having to play man coverage over top because you're so concerned about Curtis Samuel. So things like that are things that the coaches are looking at when you have dynamic personnel like in Curtis Samuel and Dontre Wilson, that yes, they're good enough to take some carries in the backfield, but you just don't want to strictly have them in the backfield. You want to line them up in the slot so that they can take advantage of the matchups.
J-Book, looking at the offensive coaching staff, any concerns, any comments, just anything schematically, anything that stood out, just anything you want to say about the offensive coaching staff?
The spotlight has to be on Tim Beck this year. Urban Meyer came out and basically took fault for what happened with the offense last year as far as the play calling, and even admitted that Coach Beck was overwhelmed with everything that he threw at him. And Meyer said everything's turned around. He's very confident that the offense will be back on track, from the 2014 season through the 2015 season, the offensive production as far as points dropped, 9 points. That's, touchdown and 2-point conversion there as far as the offensive production. So my biggest spotlight is on Tim Beck. How does he bounce back? Will JT Barrett get back to that 2014 mode? Will the offensive play calling be dynamic, or are we going to see JT Barrett on the quarterback run 10 to 15 times a game?
Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. Just anything you have found interesting about the first week of camp, position battles, anything you want to say about individual players, just anything you have found interesting about the first week of camp defensively?
Yeah, two guys that I thought was for sure going to be in the 2 deep was Justin Hilliard and Ja'Shawn Cornell, and a lot of reports just coming out stating that those guys have been running, with the third team, mixing in with the second team here and there. And the thing that's really interesting, the reports have coming out is that Urban Meyer is putting a considerable amount of pressure on that coaching staff to set their 2 deep right away because they want those guys transitioning and getting into a comfortable role so that they know what they're going to be doing, knowing the playbook. So coaches are forcing their top guys to get as many reps as possible. So a lot of those younger guys that we thought, in the spring that was going to have a legitimate shot, they may not be getting that opportunity that we thought. So position battles at corner, at defensive line in the 2 deep, linebacker with Jerome Baker and Worley, that's something to keep an eye on. Can Chris Worley hold Jerome Baker off? And then in the secondary, in the back end there, who's going to win that battle between Dane Webb and Erick Smith? We know Hooker has the one spot down, but one thing that's interesting is the coaches really want a free safety with tremendous ball skills, and you get that in Damon Webb coming from corner. So as a defense, those are some of the things that I'm looking at is, I thought those guys were going to have a bigger opportunity to really showcase, but all indications are Urban Meyer is very adamant that coaching staff sets their starters in their 2 deep as soon as possible.
Yeah, you touched on it. Damon Webb or Erick Smith at safety. Assuming Erick Smith is completely healthy, and I talked to him yesterday, and he said he's been fully medically cleared. It's just a matter of, he feels like he can get even stronger, and it's a matter of, it's not his ACL, it's a matter of, strengthening the muscles, around the knee and everything. He feels like he can get even faster, but he has been medically cleared. But assuming that Erick Smith is 100%, who do you like to win that job ultimately between Damon Webb and Erick Smith at safety?
You and I, Dave, we've talked, all season that we thought it was going to be Erick Smith's job back there, but man, Damon Webb, from all indications, he's having a pretty consistent camp. Now, with that being said, 2-a-day practices do start today, so obviously when you start hitting a little bit more, guys start getting a little bit dinged up, and Ohio State, they are not very forgiving when it comes to guys missing time, when it comes to injuries, especially with position battles. If I had to choose, I say right now it's going to be Damon, but I can see a situation where Ohio State can roll Damon down into a nickel and bring Erick Smith in as a safety once they go into a nickel and dime package.
Yeah, I really like Erick Smith's game. I like Dame Webb's game too, but I just feel like Erick Smith could be special there. If he wasn't coming off the ACL, I don't even think this would be a conversation. But he is coming off the ACL, and that's a big deal. And Damon Webb's a very good player, but I'm a huge Erick Smith guy.
He's a ball hawk.
NFL player. Yeah, he comes with bad intentions, and he's got the speed. We'll see if he still has the same speed that he did, but man, he was a guy, he's one of the few true freshmen to play on that national championship team. And Damon Webb got on the field too as a true freshman on the national championship team. So both those guys got on the field, in mop-up duty and special teams on the national championship team, which said a lot because, not many true freshmen played that year. Before I let you go, last thing, one more position battle, again, right in your wheelhouse being a former defensive back. Marshon Lattimore or Denzel Ward, who will win that job at corner?
I got to put money on Marshon Lattimore. And I put that and I add a caveat to that, as long as those hamstrings can hold up. The guy is incredibly explosive. I don't throw the term freak athlete out very much because, that has to mean something special. But Marshon Lattimore is one of those guys. He's an absolute freak athlete. They posted a video of him and Curtis Samuel in the off season having a dunk contest. And this guy was basically looking down into the basketball rim, and he's 5'10", 5'11" on a good day, depending on when they measure him, if he got socks on or not. But he is an absolute freak athlete. I like what I'm hearing out of Marshon Lattimore. I think he has the potential to be a gamer here. Denzel Ward, he's a dog himself. The guy brings it. You have to feel really good about where the secondary is at right now with those guys. And then Damon Arnett is another guy that I really like. And Damon Arnett, he's good enough to probably start at majority of the Big Ten schools in the conference, as well as Denzel Ward. But right now, it's Marshon Lattimore's job to lose. As long as he keeps balling out, the guy should be the starter come Bowling Green.
Fantastic insights, as always, out of my man Jonah Booker. Thank you, J-Book. You can catch his column every weekend on Bucknuts Outside Columbus. You can catch him all over the Front Row message board. You can catch him on Twitter at JBook37. Thank you again, Jonah, and thanks to the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.